Jaya Vishnupal Paramahamsa Pri Vrajgacharya Stotra Satya Sri Samad His Divine Grace Srila Bhai Charanaravinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya of Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada Ki Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Samaveta Bhakti Vrinda Ki Harinam Sankirtan Ki Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai Nitai Gaur Premanand. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and to Sri Gauranga. Jai Shri Prabhupada Ki.
Hare Krishna. His Holiness Bhakti Raja Swami Maharaj ki. We are extremely fortunate to have the association of Maharaj here today after a long years. Maharaj was born in the province of Ontario to French, Canadian, Roman Catholic following parents. And before his undergraduate studies, Maharaj spent 7 years in a seminary before he completed his Bachelor of Arts degree at the University of Ottawa in 1968, majoring in philosophy and social psychology. And just recently, Maharaj has completed his PhD. His Holiness Maharaj also doctorate. So in Vedic sociology, recently completed.
Sociology, right?
Sociology?
Yeah, not cosmology. Sociology. I know nothing about cosmology.
Maharaj served as a social worker and counselor from 1968 to 1971. And then in 1974, he joined Hare Krishna movement, and he was initiated the same year as Raghav Pandit Das. From 1974 to 1976, Maharaj served at the ISKCON Ottawa temple, and from 1976 to 1992, Maharaj stayed in India. He pioneered the New Bhakta program and the Namhanta village preaching program from Sri Ram Mayapur and the Bhaktivedanta Youth Services BOAS from ISKCON Calcutta. Radhesham often quotes that the first youth preacher of India is His Holiness Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj. He was the one who did that concept of going to college and making the hostels with the now known bases, the voices, the choices, differently. But he pioneered and he contributed many youth in the service of Srila Prabhupada. He accepted the order of sannyas on Gaur Purnima of 1985, and from 1993 till 2000 he served as a co-GBC for ISKCON Canada and as the temple president for ISKCON Montreal. From the year 2001 to 2004, Maharaj was based in Indonesia, where he helped to develop and oversee 6 rural community projects in addition to youth hostels. As we know that Maharaj is very keenly interested in fulfilling the proper desire of having Varnashram Dharma being established for our society members. So in that line, Maharaj has started very farm communities at multiple places, and Indonesia is one of the major places. And in the year 2006, Maharaj became involved with preaching activities and community development in Cambodia, where he established an NGO called the Global Varnashram Educational, Social, Cultural Organization, Global Varnashram Education, Social Cultural Organization, and it's spearheading a rural community called Yashodapur Ashram. So that's happening in Cambodia. It's a very good flourishing project. And same year, that means in the year 2006, Maharaj was able to return to India after a long absence of 13 years, and spearheaded a rural project in South India called Sahyadri Shri Krishna Balram Khet, SSKBT. And from this place, there are multiple courses on Varnashram College which have been introduced for different devotees. He was instrumental in establishing the National Varnashram Development Committee for India in the year 2007. And in November 2009, he was appointed as National Minister for Dev Varnashram Ministry. Maharaj is still continuing that role and promoting rural development in India. Maharaj has concentrated his preaching mostly in Asian countries such as India, Indonesia, and Cambodia. He travels extensively and holds seminars promoting the Varnashram mission. He has authored several books such as Make Vrindavan Village and Varnashram Education. Vrindavan is a village, so ultimately, whether we are city people or whatever, they have to become a villager if they want to go to Golo. Maharaj is leading us in that, and is guiding us in that, and his motto is simple living and high thinking. So we have high thinking, but our living is also become a little complicated. So Maharaj is aiming at simplifying it by giving all of us an opportunity to experience, the Vedic life through the project he's running and through his guidance and training. And many of Maharaj's disciples are actually assisting Maharaj in propagating the teachings of Varnashram Dharma and establishing a simple life. In our ILEADS programs, ILS program, many of them give seminars on how we can live simply. Yeah, they are exemplifying living simply, growing their own food and making their own clothes. So they are teaching back how to be self-sufficient and sustainable in the modern times also. We are very happy that Maharaj has taken out his valuable time and is here in Pune and related areas for almost a week. And today is here, tomorrow also, and after that he's traveling to all the different satellite centers, especially the villages where many sannyasis don't get time or don't prefer to travel. But Maharaj is very down to earth. He goes to the villages and speaks to them, inspires them. And after 1 week, Maharaj will be in a tour to all the different preaching centers, rural preaching centers near farm and the Salzburg and other places. So very grateful, Maharaj, that you are here, inspire us, and it's a rare opportunity to have Sri Prabhupada here. And let's welcome Maharaj very enthusiastically, very warmly by loud sending Hare Krishna Mantra.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
And there's a book table outside, where there's a book called Speaking About Varnashram, Srila Prabhupada's Varnashram and Farm Community Development. So this is a book which is compiled with Srila Prabhupada's teachings and his quotations in the lectures, in the conversations, sometimes the letters. It's all at one place. So it's very, very helpful because there's a lot of emphasis about what actually Varnashram is. So let us get Prabhupada directly. This book is available at the book table outside. After the class, you can have a look and you can buy one of the copies and Maharaj will personally sign this copy. Hare Krishna. Hindi translation 89.7 पर हो रहा है, तो लोग यहाँ बैठकर सुन रहे हैं। और नीचे भक्तिनंदा हॉल में भी हिंदी अनुवाद इस प्रवचन का हो रहा है, आप वहाँ बैठकर भी हरे कृष्ण।
Hare Krishna. Thank you. You will kindly excuse me because the voice that you're hearing is not my real voice. I look like some kind of throat, whatever it is. So we'll try to push it through so that we can hear from the Bhagavatam today. Om Agyana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Takshur Miritam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Sapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Jita Padakamal Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakam Visamvischa Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Vinadvando Jagatpate Isha Upika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Taptakansana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanustuti Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vansakalpa Paribhyasya Kripa Sindhu Vyaivacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narotamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayat. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, let us first offer respectful obeisances unto Narayana, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, unto Narayan Rishi, the supremmost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the Goddess of Learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nastapraya Shabadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Tamashloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. By regularly hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam and by rendering a service unto the pure devotee, all that is troublesome within the heart becomes destroyed practically to nil, And a loving devotional service unto the Supreme Lord, who is praised with transcendental songs, becomes established as an irrevocable fact. Idam Bhagavatam Nama Puranam Brahmasamitam Uttama Charitam Shakara Bhagavan Rishi Nishreyasaya Lokasya Dhanyam Swasyayanam Mahat. This Srimad Bhagavatam, known as the Grantaraj, king of all Vedic literatures, is the literary incarnation of God. It is compiled by the incarnation of God of Srila Vyasadeva. It is meant for the ultimate good of all people. It is all successful, all blissful, and all perfect. Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadadhar, Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 There's a second, a short mantra. You have to hear it attentively, otherwise you might miss it. Kindly hear and repeat after me. Om Surabhyaya Namaha. 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 Mukam karoti vasalam pangvam langayate girim yat kripa tamaham bande Sri Gurum Dinatharanam. Yat kripa tamaham bande Sri Gurum Dinatharanam. We are reading a verse that was chosen on my behalf from Canto number 1, chapter 8, entitled Prayers by Queen Kunti. Text number 40, and I suppose it's on the board. Yes. Okay. Ime Jana Padaha Sriddha Supaksho Shadi Veruddha Anadri Nadi Udanvanto Hi Edhante Tava Vikshitaye Ime Janapada Sriddha Supakvaushadi Viruddha Vanadri Nadyudan Vanto Edante Tava Vikshitaye Ime Janapada Sriddha Sapakvo Shadi Viruddha Anadri Nadyu Danvanto Hirante Tava Vikshitaye Ime Janapada Sriddha Supakvau Shadi Viruddha Manadri Nadyu Danvanto Ejante Tava Vikshitaye.
Ime
Janapada Suvidaha Shikakshari Virudaha Vanadvinadudhanvanto Vidente Tava Vikshitaha
Ladies, Mamaji's. All of these, Janapada, cities and towns, Sriddha, flourished, Supakva, mature, Aushadhi, herbs, Viruddha, vegetables, Vana, forests, Adri, hills, Nadi, rivers, Udanvanta, seas, he, certainly, Idhante, increasing, Tava, by you, Vikshitai, seen. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. All these cities and villages are flourishing in all respects because the herbs and grains are in abundance. The trees are full of fruits, the rivers are flowing, the hills are full of minerals, and the oceans are full of wealth. And this is all due to your glancing over them. Just to situate the text, as the title indicates, it is Queen Kunti who is offering wonderful prayers to Lord Krishna, expressing her concern or anxiety that the Lord will soon be leaving, and without the presence of the Lord, things may become inauspicious. So kindly repeat after me the translation. All these cities and villages, are flourishing in all respects, because the herbs and grains are in abundance. The trees are full of fruits. The rivers are flowing. The hills are full of minerals. And the oceans are full of wealth. And this is all due to your glancing over them. Purport. Human prosperity flourishes by natural gifts and not by gigantic industrial enterprises. The gigantic industrial enterprises are products of a godless civilization, and they cause the destruction of the noble aims of human life. The more we go on increasing such troublesome industries, to squeeze out the vital energy of the human being, the more there will be unrest and dissatisfaction of the people in general, although a few only can live lavishly by exploitation. The natural gifts such as grains and vegetables, fruits, rivers, the hills of jewels and minerals, and the seas full of pearls are supplied by the order of the Supreme. And as He desires, material nature produces them in abundance or restricts them at times. The natural law is that the human being may take advantage of these godly gifts by nature and satisfactorily flourish on them without being captivated by the exploitative motive of lording it over material nature. And the more we attempt to exploit material nature according to our whims of enjoyment, the more we shall become entrapped by the reaction of such exploitative attempts. If we have sufficient grains, fruits, vegetables, and herbs, then what is the necessity of running a slaughterhouse and killing poor animals? A man need not kill an animal if he has sufficient grains and vegetables to eat. The flow of river waters fertilizes the fields, and there is more than what we need. Minerals are produced in the hills and the jewels in the ocean. If the human civilization has sufficient grains, minerals, jewels, water, milk, etc., then why should it hanker after terrible industrial enterprises at the cost of labor of some unfortunate men? But all these natural gifts are dependent on the mercy of the Lord. What we need, therefore, is to be obedient to the laws of the Lord and achieve the perfection of human life by devotional service. This, or the indications by Kunti Devi are just to the point. She desires that God's mercy be bestowed upon them so that natural prosperity be maintained by His grace. This is one of the classic purports, we could say. Well-known purports, well-known texts by Queen Kunti Devi, referring to something that all of us, especially those who are devotees, can relate, should relate to what is being presented here. Laws of nature in the purport. Srila Prabhupada is referring to the laws of nature. And dharma actually means the laws of God, isn't it? Laws of God are never man-made. Dharmam tu saksham bhagavat pranitam. They are created by the Lord. The Lord is perfect, and therefore the laws of God are also perfect. And it is primarily our duty and responsibility in the human form of life It's not possible in other forms. It is our primary responsibility to learn these laws of God, to understand actually what is Dharma. We are after all, identifying ourselves as followers of Sanatana Dharma. We've all heard the word Sanatana Dharma. So Dharma, which is based on eternal principles, eternal concepts. Eternal means unchanging. Just like in the Bhagavad Gita, the 5 tattvas. The 5 tattvas are presented in the Bhagavad Gita, unchanging, eternal tattvas, isn't it? Ishvara, Jiva, Prakriti, Kala, Karma. These never change. The same in the Bhagavatam. Our acharyas actually focus on tattva. Unless we understand what is tattva, we cannot properly deal with neither the material energy nor the spiritual energy. The modern day society has developed in such a way because of godlessness. It is largely devoid of spiritual understanding and also blatantly devoid of material understanding. Otherwise the planet and the whole world would not be in the kind of horrible situation that we find it today. So in other words, as devotees, we have a dual responsibility to understand what is the topmost tattva, topmost level of spiritual knowledge. In other words, what is spiritual swadharma? Our acharyas in the Shastra speak about spiritual swadharma on one side and of material swadharma. We generally focus more or are possibly more conversant with spiritual swadharma. And we quote many verses which are all, of course, bona fide. Jive Swarup Hoy Krishna Nityadas. Mamai Vangsho Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. So many verses explaining the nature of the Atma, living entities. But we are much less, and this is one major, I would say, flaw or defect in modern day society and a kind of a weakness, I would say, possibly even a flaw, amongst those who are meant to promote and preach actually the principles of Dharma. In other words, as devotees, not only are we meant to be proficient in terms of spiritual swadharma, we are also meant to be proficient and knowledgeable, and also we are meant to demonstrate by practical application, by example, what is material swadharma. And of course this verse is very much referring to this. In many places, Prabhupada speaks about how modern day civilization is a killing civilization. Has anyone ever read this or heard this from Srila Prabhupada? Raise your hand. Yeah. Okay, not enough of you have heard it. Many times Prabhupada explains how due to actually deviation, major deviation, modern day so-called development is actually largely a major deviation from what is meant to be the norm. And this is like a crucial, it is extremely important for us as devotees to understand this dimension, this aspect of Dharma. And generally we have, well, let's just look around and see what we are displaying, what we are showing, what the majority of our, majority of our devotees, how they are living, how they are, what is their occupation, what is their lifestyle. Vedic, Srila Prabhupada, he wanted that we introduce Vedic lifestyle. He wanted that we revive Vedic culture. Vedic culture is also an eternal culture. because Vedic culture is based on the tattvas, again, unchanging. So most of us, we may have heard it, but most of us don't really understand or don't realize that Vedic culture is largely what is called an agrarian culture. An agrarian, for those who may be less familiar with the term, because it's less heard of in cities. It's referring to country, isn't it? Vedic culture is a cow-based culture. Vedic culture is a land-based culture, which is what Queen Kunti is making reference to here. She's explaining that, my dear Lord, now you will go away. When you will no longer be there, then the gifts that are there in nature, they may not continue. In other words, when we disconnect ourselves with Krishna, when we disconnect ourselves with the laws of nature, both spiritual and material, then that opens the door for all kinds of chaotic conditions. So in other words, sometimes we hear the expression that, Krishna consciousness, we have the spiritual solution to all the problems, which is true. But we tend to forget, or we may not be aware, in addition to having the spiritual solutions to all the problems of the world, we also have the material solutions. How we should be living, what kind of lifestyle, so in other words, most of us may be less familiar or understanding that this whole modern civilization, Prabhupada spoke about this quite extensively. One devotee one time was discussing how, the whole chaotic situation in which the world finds itself has been going on for a long time. Prabhupada corrected him. No, it's quite recent. It's only since the last 200 years. We have to study history. Since the days of the Industrial Revolution and the French Revolution, this is when we have started the major deviation that we are now on, and that we are part of in many ways, because it's so powerful and so prominent, and we are all, as devotees, we're caught up actually in this major deviation. So Srila Prabhupada's plan, and that ultimately is also Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's plan, it is Krishna's plan, to bring us back, isn't it, to what is meant to be a more simple, natural way of living that will automatically, directly facilitate, and to use a term that Prabhupada mentions actually in the first canto of the Bhagavatam, the system, the natural system, the natural material laws of nature which are known as within the system of Varnashrama, are given to mankind, are created by Krishna, given to mankind to accelerate, Prabhupada uses that term, to accelerate our ability to develop spiritual qualities. Amazing statement that how we live, what activities we do, what profession we take, how we interact with others, how we interact with nature. In other words, the guidelines that are given within the system of Varna and Asrama, the lifestyle that is advocated, and the relationships that are meant to be established between humans between humans and nature, and between humans and Krishna. The more we understand what is Krishna's plan, what is Krishna's system, the more we follow and apply, then this will help us more quickly actually to attain our primary goal and objective of life, which is self-realization. So therefore, Srila Prabhupada spoke about 50% of his mission that was yet to be fulfilled. which we are kind of forgetting about. And one of the important instructions given by Srila Prabhupada over 50 years ago was that in every single temple, every single project we have, we should introduce and establish a Varnashram college. Because most of us have, especially in the Western countries, we know nothing until we met, Srila Prabhupada and Prabhupada's devotees and Prabhupada's books. Vedic culture is practically non-existent. Now, of course, it's being introduced. So there's a need to educate all of the elders. Elders means those who are not young children. Anyone who is a teenager or older needs to be systematically educated in the traditional Vedic sciences. The Vedic sciences are the foundation, actually, of the Vedic culture, and they are largely unknown to the vast majority of us, because how many of us have gone to Gurukul, for example? Did I see one hand? Haribol. I went to a Christian Gurukul. When I look back now, I of course consider that as a great fortune. Because when I was 13 years of age, one a Christian Brahmana, one priest, came to our school. I was just finishing class 8, finishing primary school. And he talked about next year we're going to be opening a brand new school, seminary, a minor seminary. So I remember rushing home and telling my mother, I'm going to the seminary next year. Anyways, this kind of early training is missing, isn't it? And is advocated throughout the Bhagavatam. So because most of us have not had this training, Prabhupada introduced the concept of Varnashram college. Still unknown, Who knows where there's a Varnashram college? Who knows? Again, because, it's the right answer, because we don't have any right now. Nobody can dare lift their head, because actually there are no Varnashram colleges. So, Prabhupada said, immediately establish Varnashram college, 50 years ago. Kali Yuga, we are slow indeed. It's still not too late, but we're really at a point, Prabhupada was telling 50 years ago how the situation was dire, it was critical. And obviously it has become even more critical. Amazingly, and kind of we cannot understand, it's like material nature, modern civilization, this whole deviation is going on increasingly more and more. At the same time, by Krishna's mercy, Prabhupada's mercy, Krishna consciousness is also progressing. And of course, we know eventually that Krishna and Krishna consciousness and the devotees will come out victorious. But one of the ways by which we will be able to accelerate and help, as large number of people as possible, and that's our mandate. The whole world is waiting for Krishna consciousness. We have to follow, we have to know, we have to learn what is Krishna's system, isn't it? So Krishna's system, amidst all the challenges that are there with the term Varnashrama, even the very word Varnashrama is a problem word for many. Because it's been battered around, it's been exploited and whatnot for centuries, not just a few years, not just a few decades, but for centuries. That's why Lord Buddha rejected the Vedas, 2,500 years ago. That's how long Varnashrama. So we have this major responsibility to introduce the basics, and a lot of that is very much connected with, here in the purport, Srila Prabhupada speaks about gifts of nature. And I always have to bring this up actually because it's like a very fundamental instruction given by one of our, 12 Mahajans, Grandfather Bhishmadev, in the Mahabharata. And I want all of you to really try and capture and meditate on this after the Bhagavata class also, and possibly have some discussion. And if you are disconnected with what Grandfather Bhishmadev explains as the 3 gifts of nature that are absolutely essential to build up a prosperous, healthy, and happy society, then you have to really think about how to bring some changes about the 3 gifts of nature that are foundational to the Vedic culture. They are actually 3 mothers. And we know how it is so important to have mother. Actually, it's important to have mother and father. Modern day civilization now is at a point where, that was a statistic I dug up a few years ago, probably changed, but I was reading how over 50%, I mean this is like an indication of how degraded the situation has become. Over 50% of children in North America, that includes US, Maharaj, and Canada. I'm not picking on the US. US and Canada, but mostly in the US actually. But over 50% of the children don't know who their father is. Born out of wedlock. When a child doesn't have a mother and a father, he cannot grow up properly. He will be emotionally disturbed. So this is, we have reached the peak of Varna Sankara, at a peak, we could say. And therefore, largely because of deviation again from these laws of nature, deviation, I would say, from Varnashrama, deviation from these 3 gifts of nature, okay? And the first gift of nature is actually mother cow. And because actually in the Vedic culture, everyone, not just the Vaishyas, everyone is meant to be living with and interacting with mother cow. That's Krishna's like most genius plan, we could say. Even those who may not be so inclined to cultivate spiritual knowledge, if they associate with mother cow, either by seeing her or by being close to her, because cows by nature, that's their nature, are in the mode of goodness, it rubs off all of us when we associate with cows. One of our devotees in California, he has a Goshala, Sri Krishna Purushottam Prabhu. I'll give a little plug for him here. Very nice Goshala, you gear cows, right? And he has a program, some of you may know, well from India you may not be so aware. It's cow cuddling. You're familiar with that. Cow cuddling, people pay $100, $100. What's $100? 8,000 rupees to spend 1 hour with a cow. To cuddle the cow. It's very therapeutic, yeah. In India you can do it free, right? Right. I mean, that was the Vedic culture. You were cuddling cows 24 hours a day. You were living with cows. I mean, in some villages, Maharaj might have seen also, in India, I've had that personal experience. Probably there's still some villages like that. You go in the house, and you just don't go in the house. The Goshala is in the house also. The cows are in the house. That is the standard. So, cow is the first gift that we have neglected, that we're still unable to actually understand how essential are cows. Cows are sustaining all living entities. Cow does not equate milk, by the way. Although when we think of cows, we think of milk. Last year, one devotee wrote an article in the, I think, Mayapur forum, which kind of like bewildered devotees. And the title of his article was, "Cows Give Water." Cows give water. How cows give water? So that would take a whole other class, Bhagavatam class. But actually, if we don't properly utilize cows, as we are not doing, because we deviated from the natural way of doing agriculture. One of the major problems in the world, 80% of our land today is practically, it's called the problem of desertification. It's become more and more arid, cannot produce, doesn't have the proper nutrients because of this fantastic idea that scientists had that's called the Green Revolution that started last century. Totally destroyed the whole planet, practically speaking. So the presence of cows and grazing of cows is meant to actually help the soil, nourish the soil in so many different ways. There's a whole, in other words, whatever is mentioned in the Shastra, both spiritual knowledge and material knowledge, is based on science. If you want to know about science, read the Bhagavatam, read the Vedic literatures. That is real science. Yeah. So we have forgotten these basic principles. So the first gift, Prabhupada says in the light of the Bhagavat, those who are serious about bringing proper solution to the ever-increasing problems of modern-day society, what should they do? They must first give their attention to the proper protection and care of cows. First attention, isn't it? Are we doing that? We're not doing that. So that's the first gift of nature. When we become disconnected with cows, it is definitely going to happen. We will become disconnected with Krishna. Yeah. Second gift of nature is land, Mother Nature. Mother Nature, we get all of her necessities of life, isn't it? Sarva kama dugamahi. That's another important instruction. There's so many in the Bhagavatam. All the necessities of life come from the earth, isn't it? So we have so badly neglected and exploited Mother Nature. We continue to do so. So even as devotees in the cities, we can and should become reconnected with Mother Nature. Even if you're living in a 20-story or 100-story rise apartment, have a balcony, at least grow some flowers or a tomato plant or something, put your hands in the ground. Reconnect with Mother Nature. And the third is gift of nature, as explained by Grandfather Bhishmadev, is knowledge, cultivation of knowledge. And this is important for those who are meant to be brahmanas within our ISKCON society. Brahmanas are meant to cultivate not only spiritual knowledge. Brahmanas are also meant to cultivate material knowledge that is in the Shastra, that is especially meant to help us live the way we're meant to live for the primary purpose, of course, ultimately of developing our Krishna consciousness. So this is a very important purport, very important reminder from Queen Kunti Devi. And so, as mentioned a little earlier, this book speaking about Varnashram, I request actually every temple to have a group of devotees or maybe more groups of devotees who can, on a weekly basis, read and try to understand what Prabhupada is actually conveying. There's a few other books. One book is called Modernity is Killing Civilization, which was part of research that I was conducting actually in the context of what is called Vedic sociology. So, Vedic sociology is varnashrama. And unless we know the basics of what is Vedic sociology, we will not properly be able to address and bring solutions to the problems of today. So I'm just looking at the clock here, and I want to follow. Basically, let's see, yes, we're close to what is a special, today's Sunday, so class is supposed to be, I can go a little bit more, and then a few minutes for some questions. But I think I've kind of tried to convey a little bit what Prabhupada referred to when he, on many occasions, had, they're recorded here actually, conversations related to Varnashram. All of this is actually, what I'm speaking about is hidden, it is concealed in the pastimes of Krishna in Vrindavan. Vrindavan is not only concealing and presenting us the topmost level of, a spiritual emancipation and esoteric spiritual realization or topmost level of ecstasy and transcendental subject matter that culminates in the Rasa Lila. That is there, of course. But the simple daily activities of Krishna and Balaram, herding the cows and the calves, the daily activities of the residents of Vrindavan in terms of natural agriculture, these are directly touching and showing us how what is called the Vedic sciences that we are meant to actually know and live. In other words, I'll just close on this point here. Modern day civilization is increasingly going towards, more and more what we call urbanization. We should know that this is actually based on adharma. Societies, countries, or nations are not meant to be ever increasingly going towards more and more urbanization. We are meant, as a matter of fact, Prabhupada made the following statement, which is kind of a heavy statement, but I should share it because it's one of Prabhupada's many heavy statements. One of the purposes of the Krishna consciousness movement is to bring a complete overhaul to modern society and to revert, to come back to the system of Varna and Ashrama. And in the same context, Prabhupada mentions how modern-day civilization, urbanized civilization, is a doomed civilization. Kindly try to remember this. Try to meditate on this. If somebody tells you, you're doomed, it should make you think, you're doomed. Well, we're doomed if we continue to live in this modern-day civilization. And that's why Prabhupada, devotees were arguing with him, but Prabhupada, cities have been around for a long time, and it looks like they're going to be around for a long time too. And Prabhupada's answer was that, let it be, but we live like this. Our Vedic culture is like this. Therefore, Prabhupada wanted us that we live this culture, which is meant to be closely, intimately, daily, for all of us, connected with cows, land, and cultivation of spiritual and material knowledge. I'll stop here and allow for any, there's probably a mic around or two, if anyone has questions or comments. Maharaj.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj, thank you for your eye-opening and heart-opening class. Maharaj, can you share with us what would a Vedic college look like?
Yes. A Vedic college would look like one person who is a Brahmana, who is teaching Vedic sciences. It doesn't need a special building. Vedic college actually is meant to be, in many ways, as close to nature as possible, because we want to. Vedic college is meant to be based on a curriculum. Prabhupada wanted that we build curriculum for all of the Varnas. So Varna college will have curriculum based on what is called Chatur Vidya. Chatur Vidya are the 4 Vedic sciences, beginning with Anvikshiki. Anvikshiki is the science of philosophy, or in the Western world, metaphysics. And that's the whole topic in itself, obviously. So that's one of the faculties of the Varnashram College. Second faculty is what is called Traini. Traini means the science of education, which is for Brahmanas. Brahmanas will be heading up this faculty. Well, actually, Brahmanas will head up all the faculties, but for the science of education, they will train up especially Brahmanas. The third science or faculty is called Dandaniti, the science of politics. Welcome to Vedic politics. Not modern day politics, which are largely, disconnected with Vedic politics. But, who is the topmost politician in the world? Krishna. Krishna is the greatest politician. So Dandaniti is the third science or third faculty, and Varta. The fourth is Varta, V-A-R-T-A, that's the science of economics. And the science of economics is summarized in the Shastra in the 18th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishi Gorakshabanijam Vaishyakarma Swabhavacham. That is the sustainable, perfect scientific economy that is unknown in modern day society, largely by the vast majority of leaders. And it's unknown, unfortunately, by the vast majority of our own devotees. Otherwise, our own grihasthas would take up to that science. So that science is unknown. These are the subject matters. Then, within each faculty, there's so many subcategories that will be there. So these are the subjects that anyone who has some knowledge of any part, any aspect of these different faculties will be able to teach. And then there's traditional technologies. That will be an additional faculty that we can introduce, because we have lost and continue to lose more and more of our traditional technologies. Yeah. Yes. Microphone. Yeah.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Thank you very much for bringing to light the other side of the coin of Krishna consciousness. Maharaj, as in the purport, Srila Prabhupada mentioned that this industrial enterprise, the modern day industrial enterprise, they were some unfortunate men. And sadly, misfortunately, our devotees, like including myself and devotees in general, are also part of the same thing. Ultimately, we have only 2 things: time and energy. And we are spending time for these outside companies. Like if you see in the Indian context, so many Indians actually go to the West and they contribute to this company to exploit more and more. And you also highlighted, Maharaj, that how are we living, what is our occupation, what is our lifestyle, and how can we accelerate to this ideal partnership. So my Maharaj, main question is actually, even as devotees and grihasthas, we are working for somebody, and there's somebody, mostly these companies who are actually demoniac and they are doing all this, right? So, and why are we doing it? Why am I doing it? Because it is my requirements, my personal needs are there, my requirements are there, or my responsibilities will be there because of my family members. So ultimately, it boils down to the artha aspect. That this company is paying me this many rupees or dollars, whatever. And if we go through this way of taking care of the land and cow, yes, it is going to give us real wealth in terms of jewels and proper food and all that. But in the interim, if I have to stay in the temple, I have to get so much of money. So Maharaj, my precise question is that
Yes. Yes. What is
so in the interim, while we are waiting for this role model villages and the ideal system to be developed, what can we do in the interim to prevent this, even our future generation to go to the outside world and stay within the society and contribute to this economic model so that we don't go out? What can we do now?
Hare Krishna. I'm at the tail end of my voice here. we have to educate ourselves. We have to educate. The secret, the answer is through proper understanding, knowledge. We have to, even on a small scale, begin to establish Varnashram college where groups of devotees, especially householders, because they are the ones who are meant to bring about, actually, under the guidance of course, householders. Some of the householders will be Brahmanas also. Some of them should be more like organizing, helping to organize. So unless we know what is Prabhupada spoke about two most important things, isn't it? That whole very nice conversation, Giriraj Maharaj was called, one night and whatnot. Prabhupada said how Krishna consciousness how it will be able to continue, and Prabhupada said, by intelligence and organization. So intelligence is the domain of Brahmanas, organization is the domain of Kshatriyas. So we need to understand, and so we have to begin in this way, and then Krishna will give us the good intelligence, exactly so many things that will vary from maybe one temple to another, one congregation to another, one devotee to another, etc. like that. Yeah. Hare Krishna. Your microphone here. Here. Right here. Yeah.
Maharaj, based on Srimad Bhagavatam 7:11-17, it seems that Kshatriya government is the foundation to establish Varnashram. We see that in other religions, like Christianity, they don't have a good understanding of Varnashram. And then, like in the
Crusaders. Okay, go ahead.
But they at least have some idea that religious governance is required. So, like the Christian militia in the US are ready to take over if the government collapses. Similarly, Islam, we also see, though they don't have a systematic knowledge of Varnashram, they have the idea of religious governance, right? And when they have militias to whenever they're opportunity to take over.
But we're not promoting religious government, are we?
We are not. We are very behind, it seems, that though we have a good understanding of our ashram, we are not thinking of establishing religious Kshatriya government, and the situation might not be conducive right now, but it seems that we are not thinking in that direction.
So, that's your comment, is it?
I wanted to see if you have any comments or opinion on that.
Well, Prabhupada actually explains how we will not be promoting one religion against another religion. But what we will be promoting, what we should be promoting, are the principles of Dharma, the principles of religiosity. There's a big difference. Prabhupada was probably the only person, and because of his expertise in explaining the difference between Dharma and religion, he was able to attract and continues to attract so many people. We are not particularly promoting Christianity, Hinduism, Islam, or so many other different religions that have a particular time and setting in history. We are promoting the principles of religiosity that are eternal, and that is called Sanatana Dharma, isn't it? So this is something that cannot be understood immediately by ordinary people, even people in political positions. But that's part of our challenge. That's part of our duty and responsibility. No government in the world will be successful unless it is based on principles of religiosity. And, that's, when we think about it, who did Krishna speak to? He spoke to a politician. He spoke to a Kshatriya. He spoke to Arjuna, Raja Rishi. So our leaders in society must simultaneously become Rishi, Raja. Evam paramparam praptam imam rajarshi vidu, isn't it? So generally people, as Prabhupada quotes, right, religion without philosophy tends to be sentimentalism, which leads to fanaticism, and then philosophy without religion tends to be mental speculation. So unless one knows about the principles of Dharma, and it's really only the devotees of Krishna consciousness, those who actually follow in Guru Parampara and understand the principle of Sanatana Dharma that are especially presented in the pages of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. That's why Bhagavatam literature, I was in ecstasy this morning. I thought, wow, it's a daily offering, you know. I thought it was a daily offering, all the books being distributed. But it was like the marathon summary of the book distribution. Maybe one day it'll become like daily. So we have, that's why we have to present the Bhagavatam. Bhagavatam is the basis of all proper understanding. Hare Krishna. I hope I'm kind of... Any other? Yes, right behind you. Yeah.
Madam, just wanted to get some clarification and insights about many times when we speak of going and staying in farms with nature. It's very soothing and joyous for us to stay in nature, aligning ourselves with the nature. This question also arises. This question arises that if everyone goes and stays on farms, then how will preaching take place in cities, in the urban areas?
That's why you have to read this book. Prabhupada's plan was as follows. It's nice explained in the introduction. We established temples, just very briefly, we established temples in the city because more and more people are in the cities. And in the cities, people are more and more fallen because, you know, motive, passion, and ignorance prevail largely. So we established temples in the city for two reasons. One is to train people in the cities for one purpose, for two purposes. One purpose is to actually continue preaching in the cities, and the other purpose is to train individuals to leave the cities, to go in the country. Yeah, that's the 50% that's missing. Yeah, yes. Prabhupada did not want that we all just be nicely, comfortably, you know, be continuing in the city. He wanted us to take up and revive the village, the culture, Vedic culture, which is again the village culture. You know, empires have come and gone. Generally, empires last for 200 years. And the American empire is about 200 years. So we're at the tail end. You know, Prabhupada said the motor industry will go on for about 50 years. I think he said that in 74 or 75? Make a quick count. We're at the tail end of this modern civilization. And unless we snap out of it, unless we begin to understand what is taking place and what is not taking place, then we will be in a bad situation. So kindly read this book. We have a ministry here in India. India is the only country that has a ministry on Varnashram. That was established in 2009. And when actually I stepped down from being the minister a few years ago. So there are two ministers right now, co-ministers. One is Vasu Ghosh, who is a well-known personality, I think all over the world, maybe in the heavenly planets also. And there's Venugopal, who is maybe less known, but Venugopal is also co-minister. He's based in Mayapur. So kindly connect with the ministry to know more about, and in this way we need to educate ourselves, and definitely there's some major changes we can make. We're not simply interested in establishing farms. Farms are meant to be a stepping stone to establishing villages. Villages are the norm. Villages are the norm. And our model is Vrindavan. You know, even now in some places, you can still, probably it's quite rare, find villages that were similar to what they were 5,000 years ago. The whole thing has been destroyed since the days of, we can't just blame the British. The British are part of the whole modern, industrial revolution that has taken place. But it's just that time that we have been destroying our villages. India used to have, 7 lakhs of Gurukul, 700,000 Gurukulas, practically in every village. In India, there used to be Gurukul. So part of our mission, part of our responsibility is to reintroduce, re-establish. Without Gurukul, Vedic culture cannot be established. Without Varnashram College to teach us the importance of Gurukul, village culture cannot be established. And without knowing about establishing Vedic villages, Vedic culture will be lost. And yeah, and I think our time is exhausted. Okay, one last quick question. Microphone, please. Mic. Yes, come in. It's very good. Yes.
Thank you, Maharaj, for wonderful class. Actually, I am reading your book, this book, and I am connected with Navanandagram farm community in Gujarat.
Okay, very nice.
So, what we are speaking, really, 3 gifts you mentioned. Really, we have to appreciate these 3 gifts: cows, land, and knowledge. So, I am connected with one farm community in Gujarat, and they are happily living. There is one Gurukula. Whatever Maharaj said, we are staying in cities, and we are struggling. We are distributing books. Okay. In that books, what is written? Simple living and high thinking. We have to chant 16 rounds. We are spreading this message. We are preaching this message. But we are not getting time to chant at least 16 hours properly, attentively. So this farm community will help us, and we can nicely chant. We can, like Maharaj said, that we have got a cow. We have to be in association with cow. We have more than 25 cows in Nandagram, and they are very happy. Cows are very happy. They are grazing in open fields. So this is really practical. What Maharaj is struggling, and he is doing this farm community since more than 20 to 25 years in South India. So we are following Maharaj, and this is nice book. You should read. And if you want, yes, sorry.
I'm just saying that this was not a setup. I don't know the Prabhu. It's spontaneous. You have 1 more minute.
So this book is in English, but if someone wants in Hindi, we have these books, and we should distribute this book. Every day I'm reading 1 page of this
Yes,
book.
it should be in Hindi, it should be in Bengali, it should be in Marathi, it should be in all the local languages. Yes. Jai Shri Prabhupada ki. Jai Srimad Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki. Jai Samasta Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki. Thank you, Prabhu.
परम पूज्य भक्तिराम स्वामी महाराज की बहुत ही परम सौभाग्य है कि महाराज जी गौ माता, भू माता और सरस्वती माता के बारे में ये सुंदर ज्ञान देकर किस प्रकार फार्म कम्युनिटी में डेवलपमेंट होना चाहिए, किस प्रकार